In space, no one can hear you scream. Well, actually, if you're in space and you're in a spaceship, then you're in a self-contained atmosphere, and pretty much everybody can hear you scream. You know, your other people on the spaceship, the bad guys. So, yeah. Just saying. Hello there. Today we'll be discussing Alien, the 1979 movie directed by Ridley Scott. Modern American classic. Enough said? Alright. I think our job is done here. Talk to you later. Alright, maybe we can go into a little bit more detail than that. But, right, it's Alien. I mean, what can you say? There's more than a few movies like this historically have become more than just a movie. They become cultural icons. Alien is one of those. Like I said, from 1979, directed by Ridley Scott. Surprisingly, this is only his sophomore film. He only made one film before this, and then came Alien. He was going to make something else, and then saw Star Wars and said, I see potential in this science fiction genre. And I guess he did. And instead of making this, Star Wars was this gallant sci-fi space western thing, and instead he made this sci-fi horror thing. So not only would this land on top lists of best movies of all time, it's actually 53rd on IMDb's best movies of all time. It actually won an Oscar for best visual effects. But this would land on the list best of science fiction. It would also land on the list best of horror. This is one of my best horror movies of all time. And in the Alien, what would become to be known as the Xenomorph, they created one of the most perfect bad guy antagonist monsters of all time. I mean, it's an amazing design, and would haunt people's dreams and spawn numerous sequels. But in any case, so we start with Alien. It's a pretty basic story. It's essentially a haunted house story set in space. We take a very limited cast. It's only a few people, 5, 6, 7 people. Right off the top of my head, I can't remember it, but it's single digits. And obviously our protagonist is played by Sigourney Weaver, who plays Ripley. Originally supposed to be a man, but obviously retooled to be a woman, and thank God, because it created one of the most badass female protagonists that we've ever had. So they're in this mining space vessel, the Nostromo, and they're coming back to Earth, and they get woken up by this a directive in the programming of their ship. And so they're set to go to this planetoid and check out this signal which has called them there, a foreign alien signal which has overridden their priorities. And so they go to investigate. A couple of them, they go off the ship, investigate this signal, and famously John Hurt's character comes back with something attached to his face. The set design here is amazing. The industrial, just barren design of the trawler Nostromo, and then the design of the alien planet where they go to. And I didn't know exactly what Ridley Scott was thinking, but he must have had something in mind for the future. But if you look at it, especially if you look at it now, watching the more recent Alien movies, when they stumble across the ship, the shape of the ship, the dead pilot of the ship, and then all the alien pods in the ship, it seems to make more sense now. But it's weird that he did this way back in 1979 and was just like, this is all going to go unexplained. But in any case, so John Hurt's in there and he stumbles across these alien pod egg things, which the face sucker comes out and attaches to his face. And Ripley, being the badass she is, she's like, I ain't gonna let you back on the ship. You're contaminated, and I care if you die, but if you die, you know, so be it. She's pretty hardcore. But in any case, she gets overridden, and the John Hurt character comes back on the ship with said face sucker attached to his face. And as we know, that plays out. And basically they're just bumbling about and trying to deal with John Hurt and this thing attached to his face. And then he wakes up, the thing falls off dead. And then in one of the most epic scenes of all time in movie history, we have the first ever, often duplicated, parodied, however you want to say it, alien chest-busting scene out of John Hurt. His little alien is like, meh! And you can just see John Hurt, it's really vicious. And you see John Hurt in the background, his body just twitching as the thing's like, meh! And then it just shoots off. Yeah, it's pretty hardcore. And the Veronica Cartwright, and then famously, he shot this, and the cast knew something was going to happen, but they didn't know exactly what. So the busting out of the chest was a complete surprise. They got spattered with gore, goo, not a lot of gore, a little bit of goo. And, yeah, it was brilliant, and has gone down in history as like this famous scene. So then they obviously know they have something on board with them, and then it becomes a pretty standard horror picture kind of thing for today's standards. I mean, we got to remember, this is 1979. But the alien, they go and they kind of try to figure it out and find it, and they pick off the crew one by one, and eventually it comes down to, you know, Ripley versus the alien, and Ripley in classic fashion. And it's funny because she goes like, she's on the Nostromo and she's like, oh, I'm just going to jettison myself off with the space capsule thing, and she runs and she starts a self-destruct sequence. I'm going to blow up the ship. Runs, aliens in her way, like, oh, I'm not going to blow up the ship. Runs back. She's like, it's too late to not blow up the ship. She's like, runs back, like, I got to get back on my thing. And manages to get on the space capsule launcher, whatever they call it. However, the alien has managed to obviously get on board with her. And eventually she succeeds in blowing out into space through the airlock and manages to live on another day. Last survivor of the Nostromo. Pretty good. Good science fiction, good tension, good haunted house feel to it for being a derelict spacecraft. If I have one qualm about the movie, and I don't know if it reminds me of Jaws, where, remember how in Jaws they didn't use the shark very much because it was broken. However, what they ended up with was this just a lot of mysterious glimpses of the shark, and it actually wound up working so much better than I think it could have. It worked perfectly. Jaws, to me, is like a perfect movie. And here in Alien, I didn't really notice it until this last watch through. The alien is very static. Every time you see it, it comes down. It doesn't move at all. At all. It's just, she sees it, it's like, blah, it's there, and it got him. You know, you see it, and it does the amazing double jaw thing, but it never moves. It doesn't move. And you're like, what the heck is going on? But it still works great. You just wonder, if this thing was moving around, it'd be so much more dangerous. In any case, obviously we get much more movement in the follow-on sequel with James Cameron's Aliens. In fact, there's one scene at the end where it's hidden in the wall, and she uses steamy little vent things to blow it out. And I'm just wondering, what is the alien even doing there? Is it hiding? Is it hurt? We never really get an answer to that. In any case, so yeah. So everything about this movie, the set design, the production design, Oh, let me call out HR. I don't know if it's Geiger or Giger. I think it's Giger. His design of the aliens and the spacecraft is amazing. His industrial psychosexual designs are just amazing. And yeah. So, and then the cast, obviously helmed by Sigourney Weaver, who would forever, not really typecast, but this is her definitive role, I think. She's been in a lot of stuff and been good in a lot of stuff, but I mean, never, I think, as good as she has been as Ripley in the Alien franchise. Tom Skerritt, for like Veronica Cartwright, Harry Dean Stanton, everybody in this, Ian Holm, everybody in this, and it's a small cast, but they play their roles perfectly and they play them to effect. So, I don't know if Ridley Scott intended to go places with this, because obviously it stopped and they wanted to make a sequel, but it took another like 6-7 years, and then Ridley Scott didn't make the sequel, James Cameron did. But then obviously Ridley Scott comes back to it way down the line, kind of where we're at now in the 2010s with the Alien films, but he definitely like set some stuff up and just sort of left it hanging unexplained. But all in all, this is a great movie. Great science fiction, great horror, great production design. All in all, I can't say enough about Alien. It's one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite horror movies. And beyond horror movies, one of my favorite movies of all time. Probably like top 50, maybe top 100. I don't know. It's in that range. So I have to give Alien by Ridley Scott an A. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, ring the bell. I'm Eric Hoernke. This is Zero Production Value Movie Reviews. Thanks for watching. And I'll try to get some more content out to you soon. I love you all.